Pressing it. Oh, you're pressing it.
Oh, we've already pressed it. We're well away.
Wow.
Look at that. We know how to press buttons in this establishment. Very good afternoon. It's just gone midday. It's Friday. It's actually, no, sorry. I haven't done that right, have I? I'm so sorry.
I don't know.
It's Friday.
I wasn't listening. I'll be honest. I wasn't.
I had to do that properly. It's Friday. There you go. That's better.
Yeah. Are you hiding from the Taliban or something? Why are you wearing camouflage?
Do you like it? It's my latest jacket.
Not really. No.
Oh.
It's a bit. Well, I don't know. It kind of either it's a fashion statement or it looks like you were decorating your front hall, didn't have any overalls from B&Q.
Oh, and it's
and you just put your jacket and you put your jacket on. It looks like it got like Dulux emulsion all over it.
Oh,
but let's have a look. Stand up for a sec. Come on, stand. Let's have a look. Come on.
Hang on. I'm a bit wide in. Right, let's have it. There you go.
Stand up for it. Well, it. Yeah. Actually, I do like it. I do like it. It's nice. Is this new? Is this a new addition to the Phil Dave Couture collection?
Well, let's put it this way. It's the latest acquisition, but make no mistake, there's always arguably room for improvement and always room for more.
Hi, everybody.
Anyway,
as you
Facebook user says, "Morning, guys." No idea who that is, but thank you.
We don't know. We have absolutely no idea. You got to press some. Christ knows, I don't know. Hi to Barry J. Allen. As you can notice, my throat is absolutely ripped. I took a COVID test yesterday, which complicated. What the hell? I thought I was diffusing a thermonuclear bomb, in a movie. Anyway, I did it, and it.
You have to do 4 turns at the back of the throat.
Oh, that was nice.
On either side, and then you have to do.
Yeah,
so I think it's up to 10 turns in one nostril.
Oh.
And then whatever is gathered on the swab, you put into this little fluid. Yeah. You squeeze every drop out of it just to make sure you've got all of the residue that's come out of your person.
It's nice.
It's a lovely image, isn't it? And what you do is you then take the fluid that you've gathered there and put it into the little COVID test. It's quite a challenge.
It's terrific.
It's hard work.
I had such fun doing it. Said no one ever. Anyway, the point was, it said no. But you know what? The thing that got me, Phil, was instead of being like having a simple sign plus you're screwed, he said something, plus you're screwed, minus you might live another day, right? Or P for positive, N for negative. No, it doesn't have that. It's got C and T, which I can only take as a Chris Tarrant tribute test. I don't know. I mean, so I'm looking, thinking, I haven't the faintest freaking idea what C and T means. I just didn't know.
Well, if it's a line next to C, it means it's negative. If it's a line next to the T, it means that it's a non-definitive result. It's an invalid result.
Void.
If you've got 2 lines, you've got one next to C and one next to T. That is a 2 lines, positive one
hell of a party, and you're probably in Colombia.
It's one test.
You're working in showbiz, which it was really quite complicated. And then the best bit, Phil, is you got to report it. Doesn't matter if it's negative, whatever it is, you got to report it. So I thought, right, I'll be a good little George Orwell citizen. And it said, go online. So I went online. It took forever. And then I posted up. We can't tell if it's you. So no good. We can't. I mean, it was more official language, and I thought, what a lot of absolute bollocks. This is ridiculous. Of course it's me. It's got my date of birth. It's got my national insurance number. It's got my address. It's got my mobile. It's got my email. Who else is it going to be? Who else could be asked to waste, an hour filling in some dumbass form? So it says, then you can phone. So with my throat killing me, as you can hear, I phoned and I said to Doreen or Maureen, whoever the hell it was at the other end, why did this sign? And she said, I swear to God, and how much did this shit cost? How much have we spent? 30 billion? 40 billion? I mean, it's a fortune, right? I mean, it would solve all the poverty in the country. It would give you so many nurses in this country. You'd have nurses coming out your ears. And she said to me, and I swear this is what she said.
That's an unpleasant prospect, but if you say so.
Well, not if it's Barbara Windsor, bless her, in her heyday. Hi to Scott, if you're watching, we love you. And She said, yeah, we get a lot of people saying that. This is how she spoke. And this is what she said. I said, oh, really? Do you know what the reason is? Nah, we don't know. And I was about to remonstrate, as you would, because you're much more aggressive than me in real life.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You are, really. People think it's me, but it's you. And I said, wow. And I was thinking to myself, like, well, this has cost us, what, £40 billion? And I've got some woman at the other end. Anybody, it didn't matter what it was. Sex is irrelevant. Going, oh, I don't know. A lot of people say that. You know, like it's a joke. God. Your mum's come up. Linda, I love this. You know, I love this show because it's family. You're all family to us. I had to take a test yesterday. I totally lost my voice. Boy, I bet Ray was happy. To my family's delight. I hadn't even read on there. Thankfully, negative, get well soon. And to you, Linda, how are you able to scream at Phil? How are you able to stand at the bottom of the steps?
She can't.
Well, this is
no. So do you know what she does now? No. But do you know what she does now? If she wants to if she wants to shout, she just texts me in capital letters.
I bet she bloody does as well. Phil, oh look who's arrived! I can't do the voice. Eve, you're going to have to forgive me if I try that. I will go into a coughing fit. Afternoon chap says,
and I can't possibly. I mean, you know, I can't get that low, but I'd say crazy name, crazy girl.
No, that's more like Danny LaRue doing it. That's not really scary. I mean, that's kind of like...
Well, I mean, that was kind of scary, to be honest, if it sounded like Danny LaRue, but yeah.
30 years in the business. Ha, ha, ha. Now you see it, now you don't. All right, I'll try it. I'll try it.
Don't. No.
I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a go.
Don't do that.
I'm so miserable. I'm going to give it a go. Crazy name. Crazy gal.
Now, that's weird. You sound normal. That's nuts.
Shut up with your stupid jacket.
That's absolutely nuts. You're able to sound normal when you do the voice, but yet when you're talking normally, you can't.
This is as much volume as I've got. I love it. Kimmy Lashmar says, "Wow, that's the bass line of a Motown band." I'm gonna give you something to help.
Do you know? Actually, speaking of Motown, there's a new Drifters musical coming up soon, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Is there?
Yes. Yeah.
Will you be watching it? Will you be watching it under the boardwalk?
I see what you did there.
Yes, clever.
I was going to say they say the neon lights are bright on Broadway.
That
was another reference. You see that was another cultural reference to the Drifters to anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah. I watch. Hi Tara, we can see. Enjoy some of the digital coffee we've laid on for you. Going in. Andrew Lucas says I sound sexy. I have so pulled with.
Oh, I'm telling you, you sound like you work for one of those 0890 numbers. So I've been told. Anyway, right. Okay.
You
now don't spray.
I tell you what I'm drinking because I can't face anything at the moment. I'm drinking hot water with lemon, and I put in ginger and I put in honey. I mean, I never had that. But I thought
add a little drop of whiskey, make a hot toddy.
You're not wrong. Richard Todd, how many movie trailers are you voicing?
Speaking of hot toddy, Richard Todd.
It was a time of war. It was a time of courage. It was a time when one man had to make a difference. Sylvester Stallone, Phil Dave, Arnold Schwarzenegger in... Ooh, do you like my jacket?
Do you know, I think actually that you'd be better off doing the rest of the show sounding like Barry White, because for some reason you don't sound croaky when you do that.
Barry White.
I can't do the bass line, you see.
My last, my everything. You're the answer to... How's it go?
It's funny, actually, because people are always confusing me. People are always confusing me for Barry White. I don't know
why. Very similar, because you are actually black. It's just the studio makes you look like Caucasian.
Anyway, we pretend that didn't happen.
Phil's
right.
From Nigeria.
I met his mother. Half South African. So there's a start there. Anyway, right, looking mildly horrified at what she's just heard. And frankly, I do not blame her.
My face. Yeah.
Dear. Okay. It's our first guest for today because, yes, don't worry. We may have gone down to 1 hour on a Friday, but we've still got guests. In fact, we're going to have guests throughout the week, pretty much. So don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah.
We've got Tara O'Donoghue, who is a psychotherapist. And
Thank God.
Well, I was going to say she sounds actually quite important because Tara, you're not just a psychotherapist, Tara. You're sort of in charge of places, aren't you?
Bloody hell.
Well, in charge of places, I have been. I'm now in private practice, so I have been in the past.
Do you want us to leave you to it?
What?
Pardon?
You've annoyed her. You've already annoyed her.
Do you want us to leave you to it? You said you're in private practice. I just didn't want to. It doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
I didn't get it either. I don't know what I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh, well, they say a joke worth explaining anyway.
Yeah. Right.
So I have been the lead of some of the Maudsley services, so running very small teams for functional neurological disorder and also an anxiety disorder unit. So that's all about obsessive compulsive disorder, social anxiety, general anxiety, body dysmorphic disorder, depression, of course, as well. But I've left that now and I'm in private practice.
So in a nutshell, sadly, that you're quite limited in what you can do is what you're telling us.
Yeah.
So,
done nothing.
I'm not limited in what I can do because I changed.
That was a gag.
Tara, I can tell. I've got to stop the humour.
It's a bad
clearly it's clearly not going down very well.
Tara,
so what we'll do is we'll move on from the humour or the attempt of. It's always good to try and make someone laugh, but apparently not.
Well, you failed.
So we'll move on from that, and we're instead
off now.
I know.
She's going to have to attend 27 of her courses to get over this chat.
Luckily, though, time is a great healer. Now, if we may start, one of the things that you did that you picked up on straight away that I want to dive in, which I feel like that needs correcting, is you talked about OCD there. And one thing that drives me crackers is when people...
That's not a good thing to say to a psychotherapist.
Oh, stop it. One thing that drives me crackers is when people confuse OCD with habitual behavior. So in other words, they might sort of have a little preference to something they do and they say, oh, I'm a bit OCD about it. Like they're making light of it. But actually OCD can be quite debilitating to those who actually do have it.
Just a bit.
No, of course. And it's in one way, it's really great that people are talking about OCD, and it's becoming more in the public perception and there's more of an awareness about it. But actually, even the contamination OCD and the ordering is only one very small part. So it's nearly like people are taking this tiny part of OCD and nearly glamorizing it. And it really kind of invalidates a person's experience. It's got quite a high suicide rate. And even if you say, oh, I'm a bit obsessive compulsive disorder, if you just say the true term, it sounds a bit nonsensical, really. So in one way, it's great. People are talking about it. But in another way, it's really invalidating at the, how distressing the disorder is. Like some people can't.
They're making light of it. That's the point,
Yeah.
In fact, you want to check your front door's locked. That's not OCD. That's just being a bit sensible. If you do it 27 times, you got a problem. If you do it once, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Hello. I got to say hello to one of our viewers, listeners over in New York City, Asa Don Brown. Hi, Asa. Always good to have you on the show live from New York. Oh, yeah. We have people watching from all over the world. Asa, who's in psychotherapeutic community in quite a big way over in the States, he says, I wholeheartedly agree. So maybe he's agreeing that he didn't like Phil's joke. We don't know.
It's quite all right. Heavens, Richard Todd has just said that Barry White has been dead 18 years. My God, I just remember that like it was yesterday. Anyway, I digress. Okay. So
you left all this stuff that you were doing because you're obviously very highly placed and with great respect. And I would say this to anybody: you must be a huge high achiever to have done so much and relatively quick, right? Was this something you always wanted to do? Was this always your passion?
Yeah, it has. I was very lucky because I knew from quite a young age what I wanted to do. I remember being very young, maybe 5 or 6, and one of my parents had brought home a book about the body, and in it there was a part about emotions and how unhappy some people were, and I just was like, what? Some people are sad? And I kind of thought, I really don't want people to feel sad or feel really lonely. And I thought,
you never lived in my house then, Tara. When I was growing up, Jesus.
Oh, but I think a problem of it is actually that maybe as I wasn't maybe celebrated for being sad. You know, and actually part of the problem I've realized as I've got older, that the problem is not sadness, but our lack of tolerance sometimes to it. That actually it's okay if you're joyful. It's okay, maybe sometimes acceptable if you're a man to be angry, but actually sadness is really dismissed. Oh, don't be sad, don't cry, you know. So I realized the older I got that actually invalidating someone's sadness is one of the worst things you can do to someone.
Why do you? I gotta pull you up on something here. Basically, because I'm drugged off my face. Why?
Legally, he should stress legally.
Yeah, legally, for Christ's sake. Obviously, I don't touch drugs. I never have. Why did you say it's okay for men to lose their temper, like women don't have?
I said sometimes.
Bad.
I said sometimes.
I mean, it's not a man or woman thing. It's
absolutely. I'm with you there.
Women have terrible tempers.
Absolutely. But I think sometimes in society, I'm not agreeing with society. I'm very much against let's disobey what society is putting on us. But actually, I think sometimes it's seen as more socially acceptable for males to be angry and maybe women to be hysterical or very anxious, you know, don't cry.
If we were in Victorian era, maybe, but I don't
I wish, but I can only talk from experience and listening to the patients that I've spoken to. And I really wish it was more socially acceptable that all of our emotions were allowed and they weren't judged, because that's some of the problem. You know, these horrible terms like man up, or, you know, don't be a girl.
Grow up hair. Yeah. Big boys don't cry.
You got it. And that's half the issue. So, you know, I was very wrong as my 5-year-old self, but thankfully, you know, I'm not 5 anymore. And I've realized that half the problem is our inability to accept and not judge all of our emotions. We need them all.
But at the same time, is there anything wrong per se with analyzing our emotions? So in other words, if we look at it and we say, maybe I shouldn't be feeling like this now, I need to do something about that. Do you see what I mean? Sort of maybe there is validation for questioning our emotions, even if it's not being too harsh judging them.
Yes. So, I mean, I was working with someone this morning, and one of their problems is that they find it very hard to communicate their anger because they learned as a child that they should never be angry. So actually getting to know their anger is very important. So making more friends with it is very important. Yeah, absolutely. Rather than I shouldn't, being more curious. I wonder why it's here.
I was did an hour's podcast. Not recently, but like a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes, when he could talk.
When I could actually talk with an organization called Let's Reset and a marvelous woman called Suki Thompson, who I've been working with. And I said, and it's something I believe, that anger is an energy. There was an old Johnny Rotten, Public Image Limited song, which was "Anger is an Energy," and that I believe to be true. I think you can let anger eat you up, or you can use it. I've always used it to propel me forward. So when things make me really, really angry, big events in life through their ridiculous unfairness, I harness that anger and I use it to propel me. So Kimmy, here's a question from Kimmy, because she's confused. Could you read it out, Phil? Because my throat's going to make it.
Yes, of course. Kimmy says, are you suggesting that we tell our children not to cry and get angry? I didn't hear that, Kimmy, but I'm sure that Tara, you'll justify what you said.
No, a great question. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that we should actually allow our children to feel every emotion. So help them to understand the emotion, allow them to cry, not tell them off for displaying things that they want to display. Like, no emotion should be judged so much in a negative way.
But what about if that anger, say, for example, is put to, for example, bad use? I've got a 2.5-year-old nephew who's got quite the temper on him when he wants to, and thank you, if he is annoyed about something, he'll chuck something across the room. Surely you're not suggesting we can't say that that's a bad way of using anger.
Yeah, absolutely. And we must remember that obviously 2-year-olds are very different to grown-ups, and at 2 children are not
yes, if you say so.
There's a lot of family stuff going on today. But, you know, so a 2-year-old, no, it's not about saying become your anger at all. You know, it's not about leaving a child become the Incredible Hulk and smashing everything, but it's, you know, be curious with them. You know, I see you feel angry. Is that, do you want to talk to me about that? Or, you know, just not shutting it down so much. We don't need to break everything to allow someone to feel their anger, and we don't need to judge them for, you know, negative that way.
Tara, have you ever attempted to say in that lovely tone that you have, in that lovely way, have you ever tried to say that to a 2-year-old throwing a hissy fit?
Have you ever done that?
How did it work out for you? Wow.
So I have been, you know, shouted in the face of by a 2-year-old. And, you know, it's about leaving them express some of their anger, but then talking to them afterwards as well. You know, what was going on for you? Are you okay? You know.
It is interesting, actually, because if you have a look at there's a program that you may both be familiar with, you might not, called Super Nanny, and it stars someone called Jo Frost. And Jo Frost, rightly or wrongly, what she does is that she will observe children getting angry or misbehaving or what have you, and she comes in and she teaches the parents, for those who don't know, it teaches the parents how to bring up the children and to sort of help improve their behavior by teaching them different methods to the one they're already adopting. Anyway, the point is that sort of one of the things that she advocates is letting children sort of have their moment, sending them off to sit at a corner or step or whatever and think about what they've done, and then go and talk to them afterwards and actually explain it once they've calmed down. And I think that's what's important, isn't it? Is that you can't sort of necessarily do it in the heat of the moment when someone's raging with anger, no matter how young they are. It does have to be when tempers have sort of calmed down a little bit and they can actually sort of think rationally.
Yeah, absolutely. So when someone's, you know, fully engaged with their emotional mind, there's probably not the best time to be rational with them. Wait for them to calm down a bit, and then you could be more rational. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. I'm not too sure about the naughty step. I haven't watched it. I don't think I know what you're talking about. But yes, absolutely. Wait some time to have the rational conversation where, you know, leave them to become less emotional, maybe. Yeah, absolutely.
I would suggest, though, that my mother, who is obviously the grandmother of my nephew, is very proud of the fact that he does indeed, when he does behave like that, automatically go and sit on the naughty step without even being asked. So there you go.
Because when he gets older, he'll just walk himself straight into the police station.
Oh God!
I mean, that's the extension of that, presumably.
I'm loving your optimism, Russell. Thank you.
I know your family. I've known it for years. Now, Elizabeth Green. This is from New York as well, Tara. See, people watching all over the world. We never did the naughty step. Yeah, how did that work out for your brother, Elizabeth? I'll leave it there.
Steady.
I'm going to say who he is, but Elizabeth will get the point. We didn't even like the word. Jesus, look.
Really? We didn't like the word naughty. Wow.
Let's see what our expert has to say. No else. We didn't like the word naughty.
Why? What was it about the word naughty?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. I can't answer that question. He was. Oh, hang on. He was at. Elizabeth, can I say who your brother is? And if I can say who your brother is, this will all come into great context, but I won't say anything until you say yes or no.
Now Elizabeth says it's about labeling. That's interesting because, well, I don't know if it's labeling, you know. The way I look at it, truly, the way I look at this is it's a kind of a way of sort of analyzing oneself. And it's sure we've already established it's okay to analyze behavior, not necessarily suppress it or correct it per se. But
let me bring Tara into Tara. The reason why what's left of me is laughing is that Elizabeth Green's family, they didn't do the naughty step. They didn't even like the word naughty. Elizabeth Green's brother is Philip Green. Philip Green.
As in Sir Philip. Anyway.
As in Sir Philip Green. You're getting it now. You're getting why this is killing me. You're getting me why. Hey, Philip. Yeah. Hey, Philip. You know, what? You're going to sell that organisation for £1? That's naughty. No,
Now,
it's not. I don't know the meaning of the word.
Now, but interesting, Lee Durnford's come back on this saying that a child needs to know whether they are being naughty to set boundaries. But I feel that boundaries is actually a word we haven't necessarily discussed, period, because actually it would be interesting to know what the boundaries are for our emotions, full stop, because I'm guessing that sort of there has to be a sort of a certain limit before it starts crossing that line that you refer to, Tara, when you sort of say that you mustn't be too harsh on yourself. Where is that, do you think?
So I don't think there's a ruler, but, you know, I think it's very important that, you know, we do have boundaries. Boundaries are there to protect ourselves as well. So we're very aware when someone oversteps our boundaries, we can feel quite angry, but we don't need to kill the person, for example. We can just communicate with them, back off. You're in my space. So setting boundaries for children can be one of the most compassionate things you can do, because you're showing them that, hey, I hear you. I see you. I see you're distressed. You know, let me help you in some way. I think sometimes when there aren't some boundaries, children can get quite confused, and actually they can feel that they're not cared for. You know, some children are desperate to have some boundaries, some rules, you know, so actually being told off sometimes in a not in a very judgmental way, but being told off can actually show a child that I see you and, you know, I'm here. So they're not always a negative thing. Did that answer your question? And I go off on my own tangent?
No, I think
we like tangents, especially when they're that insightful. Thank you. So please don't feel the need to.
It's this whole. Phil and I talk a lot about the fact that,
as you may be able to tell,
no one seems. Shut up. Seems to have boundaries. That's because they were told everything's fine, everybody's a winner, whatever you do is okay, which is really, it just leads to a bunch of really self-centered, selfish twerps. That's what happens if you don't have boundaries. Because you can't rub along like that. You can't, you cannot, in a crowded little island like we are, you cannot have that. It's not acceptable.
I fear some people need to learn that, but anyway.
But they don't. They don't, because they've never been told no.
Tara, where do people go if they want to find more information? I'm aware we're up against the clock, and I absolutely don't want to run out of time and rush this. So if people want to look more into you and find out about some of the stuff you do, where do they go?
Homebasedtalkingtherapy.com is my website, so they can go there.
With a D at the end.
Yes,
home-based.
Home-based.
Going to home base, for Christ's sake, you know, wanting therapy and coming away with a screwdriver.
This is not DIY therapy, okay? This is not DIY therapy.
It's not DIY. I've got OCD. I'm depressed. Do you have any dowels and some brackets at the? No, it would be that. There we go. Homebasedtalkingtherapy.com.
Marvelous stuff.
That's terrific. You've been.
Thank you, Tara.
Excellent. Would you? I hesitate before asking.
If we haven't scared you off,
if we haven't really pissed you off enormously, which I hope we haven't, because I think you're a jolly good sport, and you've touched on. You can tell from all the interactions that people are really enjoying you as a guest. Would you come back?
Yeah, I'll come back.
Oh, we have to think about it. No,
think about it, but we got there. That's all right. We can live with thinking.
That was a Harold Pinter-esque pause there.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Tara, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tara.
Appreciate it.
Farewell. Bye-bye. There we go. Excellent stuff. Right. So, you know, speaking of Harold Pinter, actually, I was in the theatre again yesterday.
You were?
At the Harold Pinter Theatre.
No, I get it. I know.
Yes.
Lee Durnford, back in the day, there were many names I got called. This is from Martin Allen. However, restricted boundaries kids love, as it's rewarding to know what's good and what's bad. Yeah, I mean, this is it. You got to know what's right and what's wrong.
Oh, and Russell, I have to tell you, actually, sort of on the subject of theatre, I'm sorry, I know this is ever so slightly going off topic.
Doesn't matter.
Speaking of theatre, I have to tell you where I went for dinner afterwards.
Particular branch of Subway?
No, I think we have a mutual love of a certain little Japanese haunt in the middle of Chinatown.
The one on the corner. Oh, I love that place. That's
I know. Well, I was very excited because they used to, before pandemic, used to be open for lunch, and now sadly they're only open at dinner time. So for a long time I haven't been able to go there because it opens up later in the day. But no, there was the first time since the pandemic I was back there, so very
brilliant.
excited.
Oh, well done. Was it as good as it's a little restaurant that both Phil and I independently have been going to for you. We didn't even know. One day we were walking past and went, I love this place, man. I love this. And it's really, really good, and it's inexpensive, and the food's terrific.
Now I have to say that had a little bit of an incident with some salmon, but we won't dwell on that too much. No, it's all right. Don't worry about it.
My stomach's not feeling great.
No, it swam off the plate.
Oh, it's slightly undercooked. Or maybe
it's sushi. It's supposed to be undercooked.
Well, yeah, but it's not supposed to still be flapping on the plate, is it?
This is
wasn't long enough. I was fascinated to know more. Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure she'll come back, but she might come back. She had to think.
I know. I was going to say she wasn't keen.
She had to like dwell on it.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I feel like Tara didn't get us, but it's fine. Don't worry about it.
She didn't get the gags.
But it's fine. It's no problem. Now,
you see that? The terrible thing is it makes me laugh even more.
Oh no, totally.
Because I've known you for so many years, so I see what you're doing. I'm getting the gag, and inside I'm like cracking up. It doesn't taking you really seriously. It's like
it's quite hard to digest. Well, let us hope that our next guest doesn't take us too seriously. But even so, he's in the digital green room and here to talk about. All the same, a very serious subject that actually we've spoken about before with different people, and it's always fascinating to get a little insight. We welcome Dion Brown. Dion, a very good afternoon to you. How are you?
Good afternoon to you both. I'm very well, thanks. And yourself?
Excellent. Yes, we're fine. Thank you. Now, Dion, I hope I could ask a really pedantic favor of you. Could you please turn your device 90 degrees so we can see you landscape? That'd be marvelous. There we go. Look at that. Excellent stuff.
Oh,
that's much better. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks,
right. Now that we've done the live producing out the way, tell us a little bit about your background and why it is you're here to talk about, in particular, autism.
Okay, so I was fortunate enough to meet Russ recently. Russ and I were both judging the Autism Hero Awards for Anna Kennedy Online and her charity. And the reason I was there was because two of my children are autistic. And I met Anna through my work. I'm a detective chief inspector of the Met Police, and Anna and her charity.
Anyway, it's been lovely meeting.
Yeah, run, Phil, run, for Christ's sake, just run, dump everything, flush it down the toilet quickly. That'll be.
I thought that might be the end of the interview.
Yes.
It was very interesting when we met. You were sitting opposite me at this boardroom table where we were going through hundreds of sheafs of paper for the Autism Hero Awards, and you were immaculately dressed. And then you said, the usual nonsense. What do you do? I said, I do nothing basically. I said, what do you do? And you said, well, actually, I'm a chief inspector in the police. And I'm like, what the heck? I was stunned. I mean, it's amazing.
Dion, I have to ask this because
like John Nettles.
This is ever so slightly off piece, but I do have to ask you this just because I've never actually had the chance to ask an actual DCI before. But when you watch, I don't know if you do watch programs on TV that sort of reflect the work that you do, and actually let's use John Nettles as an example from Midsummer Murders, because of course he's famously played DCI Barnaby. So that is a detective chief inspector. Is it true to life, or do they dramatize it a little bit?
Yeah, they do dramatize it quite a bit, unfortunately.
Oh, that really disappoints me.
But it does make much better viewing, because if you were to sit with me in the office on a typical day, I'm sure you'd find it a bit boring.
So, Dion, I think you've shocked everybody here and in New. Are you saying to me that every crime that comes across your desk, you don't solve in 58 minutes minus the ad breaks? Unbelievable. I wish I could. Anyway, let's get on to you. You were very brave. Let's get back to your kids. You've got
you mentioned that you're two of your are ready for this. 5 children, 2 out of 5 children are on sort of the autistic spectrum. Can I ask a really sort of silly question? I hope it's not too silly, but is it the same sort of condition, or do they differ? How can you define the autism that your children have?
Yeah, they're very different. So they're my eldest son. I've only got one son. I've got four girls.
Oh, good luck.
And no, thank you.
Four weddings. You're not going to be retiring soon.
It's not a thing anymore, is it, for the father of the bride to pay for the wedding? I hope.
Unless they're detective chief inspector.
Depends who they're marrying,
the
I guess.
It's the law if you're a police.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. No. So Hayden and Darcy, they are very, very different. You know, in how it presents in them. My daughter, for example, goes to a mainstream school, and typically, you know, if you were to come into contact with her, it wouldn't be apparent to people that she was autistic. Whereas my son goes to school for kids with special needs, which we're fortunate is only a short drive from here. So yeah, it is very different in how it presents it in both of them. It's very subtle in my daughter, but she can become overwhelmed with things, but she's very good at sort of hiding that, masking it while she's in public. But then when she's in the comfort of home, she will let that out and have, you know, have a meltdown at home. Whereas my son maybe struggles to contain that a bit more, and it can sort of manifest in violence.
But that must impact on their siblings to see this, because does that mean that sort of potentially they get a bit more attention, say, than they do based on their condition?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It does, because my son in particular, he can dominate the household, because of the violence, and you know that means that you have to try and take physical control, which is difficult, is challenging for the girls, because they, like you said, they do witness that, and it does have an impact on the attention that they get. Having said that, I think it also helps them be nicer people, because they are understanding of those who do have additional needs. So that's one plus point I can say.
Dion, I want to say this, and I'm absolutely serious. I was sitting at that table. I had never met you before. And we've had another guest, Phil. She was amazing. My head is all over the place. I can't remember her name, which is very rude, and I apologize. She was sitting to your left, Dion, just split up the table. Amazing woman.
Oh, Kelly.
Kelly, that was it. We had
Oh,
Kelly.
Kelly was incredible.
Now, the one thing that absolutely made me feel about 1 inch tall, and is so impressive about you and Kelly, and I've got to say Anna Kennedy as well, is your remarkable, remarkable attitude. You're going through some days absolute hell. Kelly was very descriptive, if you remember, Phil. Dion, you've been talking about violence within the home. You're so calm. You're so rational. And as an outsider, you know, doing Phil and I and the rest of the team doing our best to bring this to public mainstream awareness, it's extraordinary to watch. It's so impressive. Can you look outside yourself sometimes and just think, yeah, that's pretty good, or you just don't realize how impressive it is?
No, it's very kind of you to say, Russ, but
No, I mean it.
No, I don't really. I mean, I do find, you know, I mean, you can say that I'm calm and composed now. Well, that's because I'm speaking to you two, or if I'm in the work environment, then it's different. It can be very difficult here at home. It's like a war zone at times. But yeah, no, I don't really look at it that way. I just model through, really, try and do the best that we can. I mean, my wife's great. She's here. She's had to give up work so that she could be the main carer at home. But she does
again, without wishing to sound sort of too flippant, and obviously I don't know sort of the ins and outs of the situation, given that you mentioned that your son can turn sometimes to violence, but that must be quite counterintuitive. Working as someone in the police force, who obviously, if you were to encounter somebody who was, say, turning violent in the street, it's amongst your job to try and sort of restrain that and to calm that situation down. That must be sort of quite difficult when it's your own flesh and blood that is, through no fault of his own, behaving in such a fashion potentially.
Yeah, it is difficult, and because of, you know, what I do for work, and I've seen it happen so many times, it does make me worry for him, and what life will be like for him when perhaps I'm not with him or my wife's not with him, and you know, as he finds his own way in the world, I do worry about that, because if he does lash out in public, then there is a fair chance that he will end up in custody somewhere, which is a concern.
And it's not his fault. That's the tragedy, isn't it? It's not his fault.
Yeah, that's the difficulty. But you know, it is difficult, because you have to draw the line somewhere, and you know, you can't, whether it's his fault or not, you know, if that's happening, you do have to step in and take action, unfortunately.
Was there a reason? And forgive, and please, Dion, if you don't want to answer it, just don't. You got 5 kids. Was there a reason that some have this and others don't? Is it genetic? What propels the situation?
Yeah, so we don't know is the honest answer. Hayden has a genetic condition, which is a duplication of chromosome 22q11.2 to give it its full title. But
you see, I was just about to say that. You didn't give me the chance. I was just going
to. But that's what's sort of caused his issues. But then, so my wife and I had the genetic testing ourselves to see if it was something that had been passed through us, and it isn't. So it's just something that's happened for both of them.
Wow.
And would you say that sort of since this has happened sounds such a terrible word. I don't mean happened, but since you've had children, for want of a better term, how much would you say that you've learnt from this experience? Because I don't know, rightly or wrong. Did you have experience of anyone with autism before?
No, not really. So I was like probably the majority of people, I'd say. You know, I was blissfully going about my business, just unaware. You know, you do get the stereotypes, don't you? Like people always refer back to Rain Man, and you think if you mention autism, then they've got some sort of superpower. So you often get that is, oh, what's your superpower? You know, they'd ask
really
one of the kids, and
oh my goodness me, seriously,
God,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
who'd have thought?
Yeah. So
it didn't even cross my mind. Goodness.
Yeah, so I mean, so my knowledge was very limited, if I'm to be honest. So I did, obviously, as you do when one of your children receive a diagnosis, you go out of your way to learn as much as possible so that you can understand them better and be a better parent to them.
I'm so in awe of what you do, A, for a living, to be honest with you, and B, your whole attitude. Same with Kelly, same with Anna. You know, I often think, how would I be? And the answer is, I genuinely don't know. I don't think I would be quite as stoic as you appear to be. And we spent several hours, you know, when we were doing all the judging and everything, we spent several hours together. And I thought, you know, you're so calm with everything. And I thought that it just knocked me out. That's why I was so keen to have you on the show and try and just shine a little bit of light on this situation, you know. Try and shine a little bit of light on it.
What is it that you would do that you should we say switch off? Because it must be pretty intense. I was reading your notes that we work in the field of modern slavery and human trafficking. So it's not like you're sort of doing an easy job at the best of times, and then you come home and you've still got quite a difficult job to do. So what do you do to switch off?
Well, I try and watch sports. Football is my thing. I'm a Manchester United fan, so that's not good for the blood pressure.
Oh, bye. See you. Anyway, that was Dion.
It was very nice to see you. Anyway, gracious me.
Bye then. Anyway. Sorry, bad connection there. We just lost you for a second. I thought you said you supported Tottenham Hotspur, but no. Seems to me, and it must be a mistake that you said Manchester United. Anyway, never mind.
That's two strikes now. The third one.
I have to say, though, you've hidden the Mancunian accent very well. Well done.
Very good. Do any Man U fans actually live in the north? They live in America or London.
Well, there'll probably be less of us now, you know, as the success has waned. I'm sure there's
just slightly, much to the delight of Penny Horner, who's the biggest Liverpool fan I've ever met. She's a director.
Dion, just think to yourself, it could be worse. You could support Arsenal.
Oh no, he won't be on the show. Policeman on a senior detective chief inspector or not, he won't be on the show. If he was a goon, that's just not going to play.
What an utter fall from grace. Anyway,
Dion, this is the nearest we ever get to what people think men's radio might be about. We never.
It's true, actually. We don't really talk sport.
Discuss football in over 2.5 because Phil and I know nothing about it at all.
Well, a bit of tennis doesn't go amiss, but yes, other than that.
Yeah. That's because you like the outfit, Phil. Dion, because we've got such a packed show today, would you do us the most enormous favour? Please don't do what Tara did to us. It'd be so
don't hesitate with this next question. But come back
and hesitate, make us look like two complete dicks. Would you like to come? Could we get you back? There's a lot more to talk about. I'd like to get you and Kelly back at the same time, if that was ever possible.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Anna. You and like Anna, or you and Kelly, that would be just a powerful show.
No, I'd love to. I'm really grateful to you for having me on.
There we go. Take note. That's how to reply to us. Well done. Thank you.
And can I just say, and I think I speak on behalf of people here and watching all over the world, and for once I'm serious, bless you for what you do. It's a thankless job being in the police. Absolutely thankless. You get blamed for absolutely bloody everything, including the weather, I would imagine. And we couldn't do it because you're brave and we're not. So well done, and thank you.
And to top it all off, you have to tolerate Crest the Dick, which I think is extraordinary. So for that alone, well done.
No. When we met, we sat down, we're having a coffee. We'd never met, and I made some comment about Crest. At your face, I realised I'd made a terrible faux pas. So
I'm not making a faux pas. I'm being perfectly serious.
Yes, I wasn't.
We don't have enough time. But anyway, but thank you so much, Dion. We really appreciate it.
Okay. No, thank you both, and I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Keep well.
Thank you. That's
all the best.
That's bye
bye.
That's the thing. Afternoon, gents.
Look at that, afternoon, gents. Look at this. Is exciting.
Yeah. Well, he's the most charming guy. I spent hours with him. We were doing this marking for Autism Hero Awards for Anna Kennedy. It was my pleasure, my honor, frankly. I was flattered to be asked. And he's the most charming guy. Speaking of ridiculously charming, let's get rid of that. Ludicrously charming.
Oh, Chantal Rickards. Hello.
Hi guys.
It's nice to know some things never change on a Friday. Thank goodness for that.
Now, most important, the Fringe. This is working now. It's beginning. No. Ladies will understand. Guys won't get it. That Chantal's growing out her fringe for whatever reason.
Seeing as my fringe consists of two hairs that have gone rogue, I'm not too worried. But yes,
you notice I never make any gags ever. I don't do that.
What?
Anyway, it's coming along. It's coming along. About you.
Oh, I see. Oh no, it's fine. Oh, don't worry about that.
I don't do it. I don't do it.
No, I don't like what's happened to my hair, but I don't worry about it.
No, there is nothing one can do to worry about it. Russ, you're very lucky to have a good head of hair.
It's true, actually.
Bless you.
At your time of life, it's extraordinary.
I'm going to punch you, and I'm just going to punch you straight in the face. I got to tell you, Shantas, that my mum had great hair, and my dad, who died 21 years ago, he was 80 of cancer, of course. He never lost one hair on his head. He had like the most
wow.
He looked like, it's the same as like if you watch Dick Van Dyke when he was the detective. I can't remember what the show was called. He looked like that. He looked like kind of Dick Van Dyke. He looked great. He looked absolutely great. Even when he was dying, he looked great. What can you do? There we go. That was pop for you. Right
now, Chantal, we have limited time with you moving forward, so we better not muck about.
I'm going to talk really quickly. There's some really good stuff on telly at the moment. The best of which is, because we're now 2 weeks in to the beginning of this fantastic series, which is on BBC Two, which is part of it's the third in what I hope continues for many years. American Crime Story by Ryan Murphy, who's one of the best producers in America, and he gave us The People versus O.J. Simpson.
Ooh.
He gave us the story about the assassination of Gianni Versace, and the latest one is called Impeachment, and it's about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. It's in several parts. It's unbelievably well acted. It's pretty soapy, but actually it takes you straight back to 23 years ago to 98, where impeachment happened because of Bill Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky. And it's mostly told through the story of Linda Tripp, who was the girl that Monica Lewinsky shared an office with, who basically wheedled out of her the details about the affair because she was trying to sell a book. And she completely and utterly duped Lewinsky and used her, absolutely used her. And Linda Tripp
shamelessly.
And I think what the program makers have done is absolutely stab her in the back, probably because she's no longer on the planet. So
she died. I didn't know that, Shanta. She died.
She died last year, but she comes across as an arch villain.
She was a villain.
But
and
it's
the other thing,
well
can I two things to freak you out? One, Monica Lewinsky and I write on Twitter. You wouldn't believe it, but it's true.
Very
Two, people.
It's their mutual love of cigars, you see.
Oh, that's very quick. That is damn good. That is the zinger. Quick. That's the zinger of the week. The thing is, people forget, don't they, Chantal? And I hope it's shown in your show that you're suggesting. She was a kid. I mean, she really was. She was a very, very young kid.
Yeah. 22. She was an intern.
22, you know.
Yeah. And bright, sort of smart, clever, sassy, came from a posh family in Beverly Hills. Her brother actually works in one of the big talent agency in Beverly Hills. I met him very briefly when I was there, and is a very liked young man. And
she's funny. She's funny herself. She's very witty. Now, I mean, the stuff she writes, it's witty, it's funny. She's got a great sense of humor.
Yeah, she's clever.
Yeah, she's smart, and he got away with it. He got away with it.
But it is a great story. It's very well made, and it's worth watching. If you like that sort of real life drama brought to life, it's really good. So it's episode 2 this week. So catch up with it if you can.
That's on the iPlayer.
It's on BBC 2, so it's on the iPlayer too.
Okay, great.
Oh, actually, Chantal, can we just ask really quickly, because technically this did happen within the last week.
Yeah.
New BBC logo, what do we think?
Well, it's a bit like the old BBC logo.
Exactly. Thank you. That's all I need to hear right next.
Doesn't matter. It's our money. Well, they can do what they want.
I know. I mean, I either do something radical or don't do it, but actually just changing.
It's sort of like the old BBC logo zoomed out. That's it. But anyway.
It's all a bit of nonsense, I think.
Fiddling while Rome burns. Okay.
Anyways, another great documentary series that's out this week is called Bad Sport, and it's on Netflix. And actually, I'm not really a sports documentary fan, but occasionally we've talked about really good sports documentaries that Netflix are doing, and Netflix are great at this stuff. We saw some about basketball last year that were absolutely tremendous. This is about what goes wrong when people behave with criminal intent inside sport. So these are real life documentaries. There's 6 in the series, one story per episode. And they're anything and everything from a basketball scandal where people were trying to rig the score to somebody who I didn't know, who was the captain of the South African cricket team, who was also trying to rig the score of cricket matches in South Africa. Somebody else who was a racing car driver who became a drug dealer. Really interesting story.
So actually, no, so that you just answered my question, because I was going to ask, is it specifically about twisting the outcome of a sporting event, or is it actually dabbling in criminal activity, say, outside of sport? So, for example, with infamously what happened with Oscar Pistorius, of course, a South African athlete who was responsible for killing his girlfriend. What was her name? Rena Steenkamp, I think her name was. Steenkamp or something.
Yeah, it was.
So that's the sort of thing that we're talking about here. Is it could be sort of either within the world of sport or actually just sort of a sports person who turns to something illegal. Wow.
Well, in the case of the race car driver, as the Americans would say, the guy basically used the money from being a drug dealer to fund his absolute passion for racing cars. And that's what drove him. He just had to find the money.
Boom, boom.
Wow.
To continue in the sport. But it's a great series. It's on Netflix. Only just started. I think it's in the top 10 ratings this week, and deservedly so. 6 very good films, very blokey, but really interesting stuff. So definitely worth watching. And that's called Bad Sport.
Bad Sport. Brilliant on Netflix.
This is great. These are great suggestions. Thank you, Chantal. Really appreciate it. The fallout from The Closer by Dave Chappelle still going on, still rumbling on. I'm watching all the American talk shows and all the American podcasts, and boy, this is a hot potato.
And I've now seen it. And interestingly, I watched part of it with my son, who is 28, and he was more sensitive to some of the non-woke jokes than I was, because I remember laughing at similar jokes from 20 and 30 years ago when one was sort of allowed to laugh at those things. Yeah. And I felt myself laughing at them again. And he was in much more of the tut-tut mode because they're not used to
wow.
Oh, no. My kids, I agree with you, Chantal. My kids have a really different perspective on how this works, although they love Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
They love it. I was watching Ben Shapiro, who I'm a big fan of. I mean, you know, you think Phil and I talk a lot. Wow. And Ben Shapiro made a really fascinating point that he spotted, as Phil and I have talked about, the 2 anti-Semitic jokes that Chappelle did. And he said, I wasn't offended. I didn't find them funny, but, you know, I'm not jumping up and down about it. That's what it was. I didn't like the jokes at all. I didn't find the close-up funny. I found it fascinating, but not like hilarious.
No.
The problem is though, that sort of just because someone comes up with a joke that is slightly politically incorrect, it does not mean that they are inciting hatred to a particular group or a particular background or anything like that.
Yeah.
And this is what really irritates me. Because if I sort of recall one of my personal sort of favorites that I find hilarious is, technically speaking, anti-Semitic, and it was told by Ronnie Corbett in one of his monologues. I'm fairly sure I've mentioned this before, but in an absolute nutshell, it was rumored to be the end of the world. And as a result of it, different faiths were celebrating in the way they knew how. Had Church of England were having the final communion. You had the Catholics who were doing final confessions, and the local synagogue was having a closing down sale. And I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, it's a funny gag. It's a funny gag, right?
The point is,
if it's funny, it's funny. And it's
but technically speaking, anti-Semitic, but that is not inciting hatred. It's a laugh. Get over it.
Yeah, and we have said that wokeism is different from every single angle. I mean, the series I was just talking about, Impeachment, in which Sarah Paulson, the fantastic American actress Sarah Paulson, plays the part of Linda Tripp. Sarah Paulson, the real life actor, has apologized for wearing a fat suit to make herself look more like Linda Tripp. And actually, that struck me, and I thought, okay, that's now a thing, because it's beginning to be unacceptable. She obviously thinks it's unacceptable to be a slim woman portraying a woman of size. But I was sort of quite surprised.
Just say she's fat. You know?
Okay, so then in that case, I put it another way, and I wonder whether or not the wokes would be quick to disagree with this, because they usually are, which I find completely and utterly hypocritical. Is I would always say, is it okay then in that case for a gay actor to play a straight role?
I know. Well, we're never going to resolve that. I mean, we could go round in circles discussing that.
But it is true. But it is bonkers. It's that kind of stupidity.
Anyway, this is a whole other conversation.
Totally and utterly.
Chantal's been doing all her homework.
So, Series 6 of Shetland on BBC One, which is bizarrely shot in the Shetlands. It's a police procedural. It's very well done. Anything that's done 6 series, you know that it's good. It started again last week. The opening episode, the lovely copper that we all adore at the beginning of it, who's played by Doug Henschel, is at the graveside of his mother. And then there's a murder. And off they go, off at the races. But it's looking pretty good. So anybody who's a fan of Shetland, make sure you don't miss it.
Series 6 of Shetlands. There you go.
I've never seen it. It's just very quickly. It's a detective show sort of thing.
Police procedural.
Oh, I like those. I like those. I like
excellent stuff. Any other quick fire suggestion?
2
One more, I think. 2 more. Go for it very quickly.
2 documentaries about strong women. If you haven't seen it, Lady Boss, the Jackie Collins story on BBC 2.
Oh, hello.
Extraordinarily fascinating woman. I learned a ton about her and her writing that I really didn't know, but really interesting. And I came across by accident a wonderful documentary on Netflix about Imelda Marcos, which I had never.
Hang on, where's the Jackie Collins one? Sorry,
Sky Documentaries, and it's called The Kingmaker, and it's about Imelda Marcos. And there is a brief mention of her 3,000 pairs of shoes. Which I'm very jealous
sponsored by Freeman, Hardy, and Willis. It was the whole show.
But
excellent
the
stuff.
criminal activity behind the Marcos is fascinating.
Just a bit.
Chantal, thank you so much.
My uncle had some dealings with him.
It's good to have you still part of the new lineup, and we're sorry it was such a brief outing, but hey, who knows? Maybe it gets better. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Well, and we'll speak to you next week.
You.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And on that note, we should say thank you very much to all of our guests. Thank you very much to Tara O'Donoghue. Thank you to Dion Brown. Of course, thank you to Chantel Rickards. I think if we may, we just end on a note here, a message from Kimmy Lashmar, who says, how can you properly describe a chubby person? Well, Kimmy, I suggest you ask Steve Allen.
Yeah, jeez. You know, he's going to resign over that. Come on, for God's sake. It's like, I can't deal with, I'll be honest with you, Phil, I can't deal with the whole thing. It's just, sometimes it's just getting out of control. Anyway, thank you to everybody all over the world watching and listening to the show. Hi to everybody in Deluxe Radio. We love you guys. Thank you for your support. Phil
See you Monday at midday.
Midday. Yeah, we'll be
Bye.
back.